Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Speaking Mind Show. I'm Richard DeCastro. I'm your host. We're having a real lineup for you here tonight. We're going to discuss a number of topics. But before we get into the more serious business, we're going to deal with the issues at hand. We're going to have Mr. Sean Rose, who is going to liaison with the DDM and give us some update on the current situation of the weather for the Virgin Islands. So we're going to go right into that at first, and then we're going to come back to the regular part of the show. So if you know anyone that's not watching, give them a shout, give them a call, let them know that we're here live. We're giving you pertinent information, and we're also discussing the issues in the territory. So I'm going to turn it over to Sean, and he's going to give us an update right away.
Thank you, De Castro. Good evening, viewers. This is a special Hurricane Danny news update. We've been following this storm for the past couple of days. Hurricane Danny, a small hurricane that at one point reached a Category 3 status as it moved across the Atlantic from Africa to the Leeward Islands, has weakened significantly, and by Sunday, it could be reduced to a tropical storm status. So some people may be saying, okay, we shouldn't worry too much. No, not necessarily. We have to keep our eyes on Hurricane Danny nevertheless, because although an unusually strong atmospheric wind shear, based on the satellite imagery that we were looking at online and so forth, has literally broken up the storm somewhat and is pushing it in different directions. That eye of the storm is somewhat affected now because of the wind shear. Danny remains a dangerous development, and it is slated to hit the Virgin Islands early this coming week, Monday into Tuesday. So we can expect a lot of rain, and yes, there will be some wind, providing that the storm continues to move along the path and with the kind of strength that it has at the moment. But as it moves through, we are seeing as well, and based on the information provided by the weather experts, that El Nino fuel sharing winds is weakening the storm in the process as it moves through. Bearing in mind, though, that Hurricane Danny, yes, briefly became a Category 3 storm on Friday, and the wind speed dropped. Now, one of the things that we are looking at is that Bahamas, based on some of the computer models, and there are many models showing the different directions in which the storm can go, the storm is expected to regroup and re-intensify over Bahamas. So while we are expecting wind and rain here in the Virgin Islands, other countries, other neighboring countries have many things to worry about. But we have been kept in touch with by the local authorities, the local DDM, and we have Philomena Robertson. She's the Information and Education Manager at the local DDM. Philomena, welcome.
Thank you, Sean.
Okay, what is the latest from the DDM's perspective as it relates to Hurricane Danny and the Virgin Islands?
Okay, you gave a perfect wrap-up of Danny's positioning and what has been happening. And it is accurate that there has been some weakening of the system over the past few hours, and additional weakening is actually forecasted during the next 48 hours or so. In fact, by the time Danny impacts the BVI, it should be at tropical storm strength. However, I hasten to say that this is no reason to be complacent or any less prepared. Danny is still expected to produce 2 to 4 inches of rain while it passes through, and we expect flooding and landslides. Road conditions could deteriorate, and motorists, of course, will have to exercise caution. Watches are in effect for several of our regional neighbors. There is no tropical storm watch in effect for us as yet, although the Antigua Meteorological Services, which provides the forecast for the BVI, indicated that we may be placed on one today, but there is no word coming through on that yet. Tropical storm watch would mean that tropical storm conditions are possible within the watch area, generally within 48 hours. In terms of more specific on the type of impact we are to expect in the BVI, it's basically winds and heavy rains. We should expect some squalls. Sea conditions would deteriorate, obviously, and waves could get up to 12 feet. So Danny still remains a threat, although it is weakening. We still have to remain cautious. The DDM has been monitoring the system for several days, and we continue to provide updates. There was a meeting of critical agencies during the past week, and updates were provided in terms of what's being done. And from all reports, all systems seem to be in place. The Public Works Department, for example, indicated that guts have been cleared as part of routine preparation for the season, and problem areas that would have been identified in recent times will be addressed prior to impact from Danny. In terms of BVI ports, loose items would have been secured, containers lowered, and they've been in touch with USVI ports so that they can synchronize port closures if that becomes necessary. From a healthcare perspective, the BVI Health Services Authority medicine stocks have been checked and efforts made to ensure that vulnerable groups, including children and elderly, have adequate supplies. Extra supplies are also being made available for the emergency room. From the National Parks Trust perspective, they have indicated that parks will close at 4:30 tomorrow, and of course we continue to monitor that situation. With regard to BVI electricity, staff is on alert. Additional maintenance has been carried out to remove vegetation from lines so that we do not have additional hazards being created. Teams are in place on the sister islands, and in the case of Yas Van Dyke, a team will be dispatched from Portola if that becomes necessary. Of interest here to note is that the Royal Navy ship, the RFA Line Bay, which was actually in the BVI some weeks ago, that ship is still in regional waters, and it can be deployed to assist if or when that becomes necessary. So essentially, Sean, all systems are in place. We continue to monitor. We continue to encourage residents to ensure that they engage in preparedness activities. You would have heard messages from the acting governor, this is the Inez Archibald, and the acting premier, Honorable Ronnie Skelton, basically encouraging the residents to be prepared, continue to monitor the DDM for updates. We're also working in collaboration with the cellular service providers, Lime, CCT, Digicel, and they have been sending out updates. We are updating our website frequently, our Facebook page and our Twitter accounts. If you're not already subscribed, please do that, and please follow us. Continue to remain abreast of what is happening, and just be prepared.
And before you go, Philomena, yes, I agree with you. I support that preparation is key. But you noted a while ago that there would be some high waves. Any particular concern for boaters who may have their vessels, docked or moored at different locations around the territory?
Sean, it is routine that we encourage the marine community to also engage in precautionary measures at this time. What I noted earlier is that for example, the Parakeeta Bay Marine Shelter, that was full to capacity earlier today. I saw some of the ships coming in. So persons seem to actually be listening to what we're saying, and that is really heartening, because it's one thing for us to tell the population what to do, but it's another for persons to actually take heed to the advice that is being given.
Thank you so much, Philomena Robertson, Information and Education Manager at the Department for Disaster Management.
Thank you, Sean. Great having you.
So there you have it, listeners. We just heard from Philomena Robertson from the DDM, and she has really laid out in a very detailed way the various measures being taken to prepare for the impact of Hurricane Danny, although we understand, based on what you heard Philomena saying, that the storm is likely to be reduced to a tropical storm status by the time it gets here. Nevertheless, the territory is still in preparation mode, and of course everyone is required to be prepared. Now, NOAA's prediction that, of course, the major hurricane players in the world today, they're saying that it is expected that the 2015 hurricane season could be somewhere around 70% in terms of the appearance of storms. So we don't expect much activity again because of the El Nino conditions. Nevertheless, the key here is to be prepared.
Okay. Well, thank you, Sean. And I see that we're well connected. We had DDM live and direct on the show, giving us information. I just want to add a couple of things. It sounds like we're going to get some rain.
Lots of rain.
Right? And one of the problem, well, not problem, but we welcome the rain. We have about 2.5 months without rain, so we're glad that we're getting some rain.
Water for the cisterns.
Right, but one of the problems with rain is when you get a lot in a short space of time. So you get flooding.
Yes, and you get land slippage.
And landslides,
yes,
and that kind of thing. So I think we have to be mindful that if we see that happening, to be ready to deal with it, to have trucks and excavators and backhoes and that kind of stuff ready to move if we have that situation. Also, I think we should, encourage the persons out there to clean drains and guttering,
at their homes and so forth.
At their homes and so forth, and tie down any loose material that you may have, so that it wouldn't become airborne and become problematic.
One of the observations I've made, De Castro, is in many areas where roads are being cut, the loose soil is easily washed away when you have heavy rains. And even though you might have cleared guts and drains and so forth, that's where the silt ends up.
Yeah. Well, that's silt problem. That's a whole other problem there. That if you notice, right after the rains, you would see the discoloration of the ocean.
That's right.
Where you have a lot of, and it affects the coral reef and a lot of other things. And we are mindful of that, so we should really encourage persons to, use silk curtains wherever possible when they're doing that type of work, and to ensure that we don't have too many problems. I was wondering too about the settlement in Anegada, because that's always an issue when we have, bad weather.
Yes.
But ladies and gentlemen, as we're going to have to take a break at this time, the sponsors that make this show possible